This is the Comedy Kiosk, podcast by Monday and Munoz. Please welcome Monday and Munoz.
Welcome to the Comedy Kiosk, podcast in which we discuss news, ideas, and opinions about comedy. I'm David Munoz.
And I'm Igor Monday.
And today's topic is called Like Riding a Bike. Basically, we're going to be discussing getting rusty. So this topic is really about you, Igor, because you're becoming shit at comedy, aren't you?
Well, okay, thank you. I mean, we don't know that. That's what I'm afraid of. But
that's the Schrodinger's cat moment here now, huh?
Yeah, it's the Monday's joke kind of moment. You don't know until you do it. Will they laugh or will they not laugh? But basically, I was thinking we could talk about this because it's been a while since I've done a live show now. It's been exactly 3 months at this point, and by the time I do another show, so I have a show scheduled for mid-August, and then I'm doing 2 weeks of Fringe, so basically I'll do a show every day, but until then it's going to be full 4 months between my last set and my next set. So I'm thinking, am I rusty? Will I be rusty when I get on stage? Am I still witty and fast? And can I still remember my jokes and stuff? Then I also started thinking about other skills that we obtain and develop, in our life, and how can we actually keep those skills and maintain those skills, and do we? And, and it all ties back to that kind of like riding a bike expression, which is, is it like that? When you learn a skill, you can do it forever? Even riding a bike, I don't know. I'm not sure that's how it works.
Yeah, and also the level of skill required. I mean, riding a bike is once you got the balance and the, pedal, that's it. And handlebars, really, there's like 3 little factors. That's easy enough, but you're looking at something that's a bit more complicated, then it might change. I have a quick question I want to ask you, though. Would you say that a big part of that fear, a small part of that fear, or not at all, related to the fact that you are going to be going for the first time to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival?
Actually, that's what really helps me. That's the part that if I was doing, I don't know, let's say 5 solo shows around Europe or something, traveling for a month, or I don't know, if I was doing some kind of tour or something, I would be more afraid because it's Fringe. I'm kind of thinking, okay, I'll be doing it every day, and that's the best way to get back on that horse, is to kind of just do it again. And since Fringe is, I guess, very forgiving, at least that's how I see it, because every evening you just have a different crowd, and and it's going to be like a showcase. I'm not going to be the only one there, so even if I mess it up for the first 2, 3, 5 days, it doesn't mean that the show is going to be bad and stuff. So I'm actually glad that it's Fringe rather than some kind of big shows, paid shows, touring or something like this. So that's actually helping me with this fear. The problem is, before I go to Fringe, I'm doing a solo show for an hour, just a day before I go to Fringe. And that's the one that I'm more afraid of, because I'm thinking, what if I can't keep their attention? What if I can't be sharp and witty and, quick on my feet and stuff as I used to be when I performed regularly every weekend, every week, a few times a week, etc.
Yeah, and I think another skill, the one that I think scares me the most, and I don't want to put the idea in your head because you'll be like, shit, I thought about that, crap. But for me, it's
okay. My anxiety can take it. Go for it.
Okay, good. It's reading the room, like getting the feel for the room. You know what I mean? Like that sort of like when you click with the room, then all of a sudden it all just meshes nicely. It's like 2 cogs coming together. But when you can't read the room, you then can't mesh with it. You can't, the 2 cogs can't match, and then it's a jarring, it's a stuttering sort of experience where you just feel like you can't get into it, can't get into the groove.
Well, I think that's the part of that, experience of performing regularly, especially regularly, and maybe to different rooms or different clubs or something like this, because you really, I would say, the skill to properly read the room, to see what they would be up for, what they wouldn't be up for, and to give them some kind of, natural, comfortable experience rather than, going with something completely opposite of what they would expect or what they came to hear. But also that confidence, because when you do it regularly and you're like, okay, they laughed at this joke 2 days ago, they laughed at this joke yesterday, they're gonna fucking laugh today as well. So you know kind of what works, you know how to handle yourself. You're coming there with, some kind of confidence and posture that says, yeah, I've done this like 5 days in a row. I'm good to go. And they feel it. They really kind of feed off of that, and they can match that vibe as well. But when you come on the stage and you're insecure and you're thinking like, will I be okay? Will I forget my joke? Am I rusty? Did I lose that charm? Did I lose that wit? Then, I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid that I'll kind of challenge myself, and then I'll get challenged by the audience as well.
Yeah. Well, it's like when we discussed ages ago, one of our earlier first podcasts about, what makes a comedian or being a comedian and stuff like that, or the advice we'd give. And I said, like, the main one, like, if I had to give any starting comedian their first piece of advice, and now I'm giving you this advice because you're sounding like a first time comedian, like a little bitch.
Thank you.
From the beginning, is own the stage. You got to learn to own the stage. And that's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're afraid that you won't be able to own that stage. Like, you'll go up there as the new guy, as the untested and the insecure. So it's about like getting yourself comfortable to being on a stage and saying, I own a stage. And like a true pro is someone who can get up on any stage and they can own that stage. Like, it doesn't have to be a stage they've been on before, which is, for example, where I recently did an open mic, which is the first time I've done an open mic in a long time, like a proper Tuesday night open mic, because I can't make it usually Tuesday nights. I really can't because of work. But at this point, I did it, and it was like, that first feeling getting on stage, because I hadn't been on that stage before. Obviously, I'm still not at pro status. Like, I still didn't feel quite like I owned that stage. I got there with confidence. I started up, but deep down, there was a little part of me that's like, oh, yeah, this stage is a little bit smaller. This is not like the Brothers stage, which I've been doing a bit. It's like, this is the cafe stage, and it's like, oh, right, little room. Yes, I was enjoying it. I was liking it. But at the same time, I think I did well, but at the same time, I felt a little bit like, a real pro would get up and be like, this is my stage, fuck it, even if I've never been here before. Like, when we invite those foreigners, the foreign comedians to come perform, we can put them on any stage. Boom, that's their room. It's their room the moment they walk up,
Yeah, but that also comes with, years of experience, first of all, but also like back-to-back shows and performing. If you did that stage every Tuesday, then you would be more comfortable on that stage, because that's the stage that you are familiar with and you know it. Or if you did any show or stage twice a week, then you would just get that feeling of, okay, I'm okay with any room. Just put me on any stage, I'll be fine. Every stage is just a backdrop for my jokes and for the audience's reaction. It's just there to, to have some physical space. So I think that's the difference, because at the moment, after not doing any shows for 3 months, I think lost that kind of feeling of what does it mean to be on stage, like because when you're doing it regularly, you take it for granted. I've been doing it for 7 years, and I think I've never missed more than maybe a month or two of performing, and that was kind of if I go on vacation, holiday, something like this, and I don't perform for like a month and a half. As soon as I'm back somewhere where there's a stage, boom, doing shows again. Or during the pandemic, but even that, I think 2 weeks into the pandemic, we already organized the online shows and started performing online. It's not the same experience. It's not on a stage. It's not with a room full of people, but you're still publicly telling jokes to someone who's listening. So we still managed to somehow practice that skill and sharpen that skill. But I remember by the time we got to do the first live show again, everyone was rusty as fuck. It's been only like 3 months, maybe even less, that we haven't done a live show. And we opened with a big show, kind of welcome back, best of show with, I don't know, like 5 or 6 most experienced comics, and everyone was rusty as fuck. Like, people really came out just to have a good time, to laugh and so on. But we, we tested a lot of new jokes. We got used to maybe that online response where people send likes and smiley faces instead of actually laughing when everyone is on mute, not to disturb you, and whatever. And we just forgot what does it mean to be in a real room with real live people, and so I'm kind of afraid of that as well, that I forgot what does it feel to be on stage and to have like all eyes on you and the spotlight on you, and you have a mic in your hand, and this is you now. So every moment, everything you do is like under a microscope, and you know, everyone sees everything you do. Because I mean, even the podcast, we have it recorded in like 2 months or something. We had some episodes in the bank that we recorded back in the day, and you know, even just joking with someone, like as banter, like as we as an intro to this episode, we spent, I don't know, an hour just chatting and bantering, and it's already something that I haven't done in like 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, that's why I remember when we first discussed, like, you know, like, oh, yeah, and I said, yeah, let's just, you know, chat for a little while, whatever. Like, we'll catch up when we because I thought we will need a little while for us to kind of get back into this groove and talking to a microphone and just, you know, feeling that sort of vibe or whatever. Yeah, no, I definitely, I get what you mean. Now, to go back to the original point, though, of the skills required and things like that, and, you know, the phrase, like riding a bike. So this is a common phrase in English. It's used in Croatian. I think it's in Russian. It's in many different languages. Using, if there is another expression maybe used in the country that you live in or are from, please let us know in the comments or somehow like pass on, because I'd be really curious to know if there's other versions. Like maybe, you know, it's like, you know, spoon feeding a crocodile, and you're like, wait, what? It's like, huh? But you know, some other expression.
That's an expression only in Florida, I think.
No, then it would be alligator, spoon feeding an alligator. You're right,
Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
sorry for mixing up those two very different animals.
I mean, it's chalk and cheese, buddy. Chalk and cheese. So we were thinking about other things that you have learned, whatever. Like, for example, for me, if someone were to say, like, I used to play the saxophone, right? And if someone said, oh, it's like playing the saxophone, that's a whole different thing, because I remember like the finger holes, like which fingering to use for notes, but I'm not sure if I remember the name of the note correctly. So I'm 100% sure I still remember the D, how to do a D, but if you gave me a C, I'm not 100% sure of the C. But I remember there's certain fingerings that I know, like the G, the C, I'm pretty good at. The A, B, I think I might not remember that one.
I'm sorry, I can't keep a straight face while you're describing fingering a C, a B. Be really good at finding the G, but not so familiar with the D. I just can't keep a straight face. I know you're just talking about playing a saxophone, but come on.
What? I have no idea what you're talking about, Igor. You filthy, filthy little bugger. Now, back to the B, you bugger. But the thing is, I don't remember the name of the note, so maybe I'll be like, oh, this is a C. And you're like, no, Dave, that's totally a G. That's a G. Oh, shit. Like, I'm doing the wrong fingering. You know, I'm hitting the wrong note. So the point is that Lord. This is kind of the issue. So, yeah, I could play you hot cross buns because I remember the fingering for hot cross buns. I think I know the notes. I'm not sure if I've named them correctly or not. But the point is that I could definitely, I think I could play it. No definite. I'm about 70, 80% sure that I know how to play it because it's 3 notes. But any other song, tune, whatever, I couldn't. I could probably fiddle around with the saxophone and make some interesting little tunes, but I wouldn't remember how to play songs. So I think that would take me a couple of months of playing with a music book, relearning everything. I would probably require another 6 months to remember most of it, and then it might take me another 6 months to kind of start getting back to a real how I used to be, maybe. But then it's been probably 30 years since I've played a saxophone. 30 years now. Oh my god, so depressing. Since I've even held a saxophone. So if you were to say like playing a saxophone, I'm like, yeah, that's gonna take some work to get back into. You know what I mean? Well, not like riding a bike, like having sex, like, you know, that. Pretty sure I know how to do that, even if I took a 30-year break. Pretty sure I know the fundamentals for that one.
Well, for that one, if you don't know the fundamentals, even the first time you're doing it, if you don't know the fundamentals, then you're really messing it up, buddy. You're like, does it go in the ear? Where does this go? But
yeah, exactly.
I mean, even this like
what do I finger?
The C or the B?
The C. Oh my God. Where's the B?
The C or
What
the A?
is the B?
Yeah.
What is the B? What is the B? I never heard of that before.
But I mean, even the like riding a bike expression, because I think it's one of those things when you're learning how to ride a bike, you're not really learning how to ride a bike. You're learning how to keep balance. You're kind of training your inner ear not to kind of panic and fall to one side. So you're just learning how to keep balance, and then that same skill can help you while, I don't know, ice skating, roller skating, skateboarding, whatever kind of, sport or activity where you need to keep balance. And that's what you're actually learning. Just like pedaling in circle and, turning left and right, it's not really a skill you learn. You learn how to stay on the bike. That's the main issue.
Exactly.
So
It's the balance.
Yeah, you're not learning how to ride a bike. You're learning how to deal with balance. And once you have that, I think, if you sit on a bike after 30 years, you'll still have the balance because
you use it in other fields.
Yeah, of course.
You don't just use the balance only for a bicycle and nothing else. You're just fine tuning something you already had, because we already have balance. You can walk, you can, do stuff without the bicycle. Before you learn how to ride a bicycle, you already know how to walk. So you hope, but
mostly,
so you've got the balance. All you're really doing is you're just fine tuning that balance to a certain device. But once you've fine tuned it, you've honed it, you've got it, and you've used it probably for other stuff, like if you did tightrope walking, if you rode a skateboard, if you do whatever, that sort of thing. So when you get back on the bicycle, you're just getting back to that more honed feeling. And I think it wouldn't take you very long. It'd take you a few pedals, maybe a couple of meters, maybe 100 meters or so before you finally went, oh, yeah, right. Because like you said, it's fine tuning. It's getting that inner ear to kind of find that balance that you were again,
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why this expression is very specific, because even I think if you said, oh, it's like driving a car, it's already, I think, a skill you can lose.
Shit.
Because you lose you lose, let's say, spatial awareness. You lose this kind of maybe aggression that you have in driving. Maybe,
also, if you're doing manual, like, at what point the clutch and the brake, when you're lifting one and switching one to the other, when you're supposed to be lifting, you're supposed to slowly lift off the clutch while you take the brake off quicker or some shit like that. Like, but you're changing gears like that. If you're doing manual, even harder, like finding that sweet spot. And then every car is slightly different. Once every stage is slightly different, every car is slightly different. It's finding that fine tune, like where you ease one pedal off slightly more than the other, a little bit quicker, and that the in between space.
Well, I guess that's like comedy, maybe, because when you're an experienced enough driver, you can sit in any car and drive it well. Maybe you can drive your own car the best, but you can sit in any car and drive it well, no matter what's the, like, is it diesel or is it petrol, no matter is it,
and within 5 to 10 minutes you're probably like found all the sweet spots. So
it's like, you can come into any comedy club or climb any stage, get on any stage and do a good set of performance once you kind of get acclimated to that stage or whatever. So in that sense, I would say that the expression wouldn't even work if it was like, oh, it's like driving a car. So I guess riding a bike is maybe even swimming or something like this. You also learn how to do it. But if you don't do it for 20 years, you could be a bit like wonky and kind of afraid and, not have that.
Drifting to the left. You're always drifting to the left.
Yeah. Maybe you're waving your left hand a bit too much. But yeah, so if I'm thinking of
something. Cup the hand.
Yeah. There's a shark. Swim. I can't. I forgot. But yeah, if we
keep drifting to the left, sharks.
You're swimming in circles. Damn it. But yeah, if we think of such kind of skills that, as you mentioned, the playing. I know that this is very common with instruments. I know people that went to like musical schools for 8 years or whatever, graduated in piano, in violin, and something. And then if you ask them 10 years later, "Oh, play me something on the piano," they would be like, "Okay, first give me the notes. Then when I check the whole sheet and I memorize everything, I have to kind of remember how to position my hands, how to spread my fingers and stuff." Because I guess a lot of that stuff is muscle memory, and you lose muscle memory if you don't repeat that activity. Because I also remember yeah, when I was DJing for a while, like 3-4 years or something, I was DJing every Friday and Saturday, and I could do it. Mostly I was sober because I hated being like drunk or whatever, like even tipsy while I'm at work, and it was work. I was getting paid for it and stuff. But sometimes, of course, when it's a friend's birthday, when it's some party, when it's late in the night, I would get tipsy or even drunk. And I would never mess up anything. Like I would still match the beats perfectly. I would still like press the right like buttons or filters or whatever, because it was just, I was kind of on autopilot. My brain plus muscles wouldn't let me make a mistake, because it's just something that I've been doing for, I don't know, 3 hours every night, every Friday and Saturday, or maybe sometimes 6 hours or whatever. So I knew it so well that it became like an automated process. And just recently, I think last week, I was with a friend, with a high school friend, that when we were in high school, we spent almost every evening after school in a bar that had a table, like a billiard table, a pool, like a, what do you call it, 8-ball or whatever, like a pool table. And on Sundays, we would go there for the whole day. We would come there maybe at 2 p.m. and stay till 10 p.m. So every day after school for, let's say, 2 hours, and Sundays for something like 6 or 8 hours, we would be on that billiard table. And we were so good at playing billiards that, because it's muscle memory, and it's like once you learn where the ball is going to go and how it's going to bounce and how it's going to hit, it's just physics. And you kind of learn it to that extent that you see the movement of the balls and like where it's going to go. And we would really play it to that extent that we would need no preparation, no calculation, nothing. We would approach the table, put the cue down, hit the ball, hit it in the pocket, move away. It was just like it was automatic for us. Now, I haven't played billiards properly for, I don't know, 15 years. I play it every 3 months with someone who plays as bad as I do now. And we went to play billiards, and my God, were we shit. Like, it's you just can't predict those things anymore. You don't have the feeling. Yeah. You don't have the understanding of how hard should you hit something for it to, it was just painful to watch even. It wasn't even fun, because it's just like two, very bad
because you knew what you were capable of. You knew what you were capable of, and you were not meeting that expectation. I remember, playing pool. I loved giving the ball like just the right amount of backspin, so I could slam a ball into the pocket and then get the white ball to go backwards and hit another one. Sometimes even you get a double shot just on the right amount of backspin. But then now, if I do it every single time I've tried, and I have not tried in a long time, I end up throwing that ball way off the table. I kicked that ball off the table, and I'm like, how the hell did I used to? I don't know how I did this. Like I used to be actually pretty decent with a backspin, and now I'm like, I should keep away from that backspin. I will hurt someone. I'm gonna hurt somebody with that backspin. Damn.
I spent 5 minutes talking about how I used to be a great billiards player, and then you say that you casually just throw it in that you used to hit a ball so that it would backspin into another ball. And I'm like, what is this Eurosport ESPN shit? Come on. I've never, even in my best days, I could not do that. What the fuck? But yeah, it's with some of those skills that, well, mostly with the physical ones, I would say it's the muscle memory. And it's like once your brain automatically leads your muscles to specific like actions and dealing with those actions, then you can do it without much thinking. But as soon as you don't do it regularly, I guess, the body forgets as the body forgets everything. But then with some more, I would say, intellectual skills where you kind of learn something or practice, you also, I think you maybe lose it even faster, because I would absolutely say the body remembers longer than because I used to play ping pong a lot as well, table tennis, and I do it maybe twice a year now, but still it takes me 5-10 minutes to warm up, and then suddenly my body knows how to position the racket to like do the spin, to do the whatever. And I don't think about it, I just do it.
Backspin?
Yeah, backspin as well. Yeah, but
see that's where I'm like, what fucking backspin? You backspin a goddamn ping pong ball? Fuck you.
Yeah,
fuck you, Mr. Show Off.
You can. Yeah.
See that? No, that one. No, I could not slice it.
Yeah, I could always slice it. Slice and dice, baby. Yeah, but when I think about some kind of stuff that, I don't know, a job I had 4 years ago where I learned how to use some specific platform and I was really good at it and efficient at it, and I would do it in like 5 minutes. If you gave me the same platform now, fuck me, I wouldn't know how to even start, like where to open the file, what to, like, and it's the same thing with when we started doing this podcast. So I don't know, 15 years ago, I was a musician and I was recording stuff and I was like mastering and processing vocals a lot, and it was like an easy process for me. I understood like what is what, which frequencies, which kind of. Now when I started doing it for this podcast, my god, I had to watch like 10 instructional videos on YouTube, like just how to like remove the, I don't know, this sound or whatever. So yeah, it seems like you really do forget stuff, and that's why I'm worried, because I think comedy is a mix of those physical plus intellectual skills. And it's more than one skill, right? It's not just, okay, just tell the joke. Like, it's not just, some kind of voiceover or whatever. It's more like you need to be physical. You need to be confident. You need to radiate some energy and charm. You need to be quick and witty. A lot of my act is based on crowd work and banter. What if I lost that? So a lot of your act is based on like physical expression of the joke. So what if you lost that? What if you started acting something out, but you're kind of not sure, does it look good? Are you doing it right? How do you look?
Stilted.
Yeah. Do you look like, just too robotic, too unrelaxed? Do you look too fake? Do you look silly, goofy, funny? Not funny in a good way, but like, are you embarrassing yourself? So,
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So would actually, when you had such periods of not performing, did you have such doubts?
Oh yeah, I guess. Actually, it's kind of on a side note, slightly. Actually, one of the guys in the open mic, one of the new guys I got to know that night, and we went for drinks afterwards as well. Carousel, a Russian comedian who's doing stuff in English now, I guess. And what was interesting was when he finished his set, he had a pretty decent set. But he was like, no, I didn't click with the crowd. Not like I did last Saturday. He's like, I did not click with them. I was just telling jokes. And I found that was an interesting way of putting it. Like, he's like, they were laughing, but it was because of the jokes, which some people would say, well, that's great. My first thought was, what the fuck are you complaining about? That's what you want, for them to laugh at the jokes. Like, so obviously he had good, solid jokes and they laughed, but he wasn't happy enough, because that will get you, for example, like 60% of your laugh. The other 40% is that charisma. It's the way you say it. It's the delivery. So he had material that worked, but he was not satisfied because he's like, I did not click with the crowd. I did not vibe with them. There was none of that boom. Like, he was like, I got laughs, but they're not the laughs I want. Or they should have been bigger. They should have been more frequent. And that is the point. So like, when you're saying like feeling that awkwardness, there is that kind of that awkward, stiff feeling that you sometimes I can get, like I can feel, or if I'm just not having a good day, it doesn't even have to be because I haven't performed for a while. I just know that day I'm just not in the mood. And this is where I've said before, like the difference between a professional and amateur comedian, in my opinion. I still consider myself very much an amateur comedian because there are days that I arrive to the show where I'm not feeling it, and then I know I feel a bit stiff. Sometimes people can't tell from the audience. That's the best compliment I can get. It's like, oh, I felt really stiff and uncomfortable. Like, man, we didn't notice. Like, you were great up there. Great. Maybe that is a little bit of me becoming more professional in that sense in the way that I deliver stuff. But there are times I'm just not feeling it, because I think, to be a real pro comedian, it doesn't matter if you could be in the middle of a freaking divorce and you could still get up, kill that night, walk off and cry. Because reality, you're back in reality. But while you're on stage, you can kind of ignore the bad stuff, I think. But I think that's the skill you need, especially as a touring comedian or anything like that. Like those people who are touring comedians, that's the skin that you need, the thick skin where it doesn't matter what's going on in your personal life, doesn't matter how shitty your hotel room and how jet lagged or road lagged or whatever you are from moving around. You can get up and you bring your A game. I just find that stiltedness though, it has happened and it feels weird. And this is where some comedians will have that drink before they perform, to loosen them up, as they would say, which sometimes works. Sometimes it just makes it worse.
That's the tricky part. I'm thinking, for example, before this solo show that
you're thinking marijuana, heroin, right? Really, really just go into that
every morning. Yeah. But regarding this specific show, I'm thinking of having like at least 1 or 2 beers, because it sometimes, just calms down the nerves, even if it doesn't like physically, it does mentally. Like you feel like, okay, I've had a drink, I've calm down a bit, whatever. But I also think it could be a risk, because if I have those 2 beers and they do have an influence, like I become tipsy or whatever, it's going to be even harder for me to, like mumble those jokes out and to, like have that edginess and sharp wit and everything I need to make my act kind of as I want it to be. And then if we talk about this thing that, sometimes you're just telling jokes and sometimes you're really vibing with the crowd and doing it properly. I think it's that, because now I'm going into the show and maybe into like Fringe as well, like a little bit, I wouldn't say I'm scared, but I'm a little bit like, worried maybe, or conscious of it, and I'm thinking, oh, what if I forgot how to do it? What if I mess up? What if I don't remember the jokes? What if I'm not quick enough to banter with the crowd and stuff? So I'm excited. I'm not like afraid of it. Otherwise I would cancel it and not do it. But I'm still a bit like, worried about it. But I remember sometimes, especially when you're kind of confident enough and you're like, okay, I'm going to go on this stage and I'm going to kill, and I know it. You're even like, you can't wait to scratch that itch. You can't wait to be on stage. And I remember one show we did, it was like a gong show, and I've done only one of those. I think it was a gong show, and we had like, I think 10 comics apply for it, and it was a mix of kind of experienced and new, old jokes that work and new material that people are testing and stuff like this. And there was a guy that appeared for the very first time to perform, I think in English. I think he's done some shows, but in English it was his very first time. Kind of young, maybe 22, 23-year-old, tall, very good looking guy. And he's
so not either of us, obviously.
Yep. No.
You're not talking about either of us.
It was my arch nemesis. And
tall, good looking guy.
Yep, that's it. That's him. And he came on stage and he did like 5 minutes about something like, my girlfriend this, my girlfriend that. It's so hard for me to find a good woman. I've been dating on Tinder, this and that. Just kind of like 5 minutes of material on relationships, but kind of like he was the victim, poor him, can't find a girl, this and that. And I remember during his whole performance, and I was next, I was going after him, and I was thinking like, okay, I really want to get on that stage. And because he was doing all right, like he got some laughs, he wasn't killing. Yeah. And I was like, I can't wait to get on stage and do my material. Like, just let me go on now. Let me kill.
The competitive streak. Yeah. Your competitive streak came out and you're like, I can fucking beat that. Fuck, I'm gonna wipe the floor over his good-looking tall ass. I'm just gonna kick it all around the stage. Like, fuck that little bastard.
Yeah, exactly. Big bastard. Like when you, that's why when we talked about this before as well. That's why we do fucking comedy, because we have nothing else going for us. So like, I'm not tall and handsome and whatever, young and successful. I am funny. So let me be funny. That was my whole. So he finished. I came on stage. I opened with, look at this fucking tall, handsome, beautiful motherfucker. Go home. Why are you even here? Go home, have sex with your girlfriend. There is like 5 girls in this room, and this is our only chance to impress one of them. And you come here with your handsome face, with your tall body, and your okay jokes. Stop doing, like, this is the only thing we have. Get the fuck out of here. And people really like lost it because they felt the honesty in my words, I guess. But yeah, so that kind of that, I can find that vibe, I can match it, and I can ride that wave of kind of just, and you remember you were at the last show I've done. So that was like 3 months ago. It was my big kind of solo show that I've kind of planned and produced and whatever. And I think it wasn't the best show I ever done, but I think I was in kind of a good place, good mood, good kind of groove. Yeah. And I think especially what I love the most, the crowd work and the banter and stuff really worked. People were really up for it. There were some moments, of course, where, like I would ask a question and no one would answer or whatever. But there were some people that are very interesting, very kind of keen to join in and stuff. Yeah. And I really, really enjoyed it. And what if I can't do it anymore? What if I say, hello, sir, where are you from? And someone says, I'm from Germany. And I go, Germans. Right?
Shit.
Scheiße. So
yeah, it's true. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the last stage then. What advice are you going to give yourself? Like, what are you going to do to try to rectify or remedy this situation? Do you think it'll be enough, for example, to stalk and stride in your bedroom in circles, talking and muttering to yourself like some sort of lost soul in the grips of madness? Or will you need to do something else? We need to maybe even do, for example, an online mic, which I know you're not a big fan of right now, but it's sort of, maybe it might be something that you should try to kind of get over it, because maybe that will, or at least give you a little bit of at least saying out the jokes out loud to somebody, even if all you get is like, smiley emojis and thumbs up.
Well, that's actually a really good idea, because I haven't even thought of that. And I know that there are some online shows still going on as kind of the consequences of the pandemic. But now I know that some kind of organizers and even audience follow those things regularly, because it's a chance to see comics and audiences from around the world. So why not? Sadly, I think most of them are still in the US, which is not a very favorable time zone for me, because I would have to get up at like 5 a.m. to do one of those shows. But why not?
But just to do 2 or 3.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it is a good idea. I haven't even thought of that, because there is no actual other opportunity or chance for me to do a set before that show that I have booked, because I'm now in a small town where there's no shows whatsoever. I would have to travel to the capital to do some mics, and it's kind of once a week or whatever, so I would have to really time it with like my other stuff going on that I could make it. And so there is really low chance of me doing any live shows before that, but an online mic or show could be a really good idea. But what I'm thinking of, maybe just repeat the whole set out loud to myself in my room, just to make sure that I still remember all of my jokes and all of my tags and all of the pauses and everything like this. First of all, that I haven't lost the rhythm, the pacing, the beats, So that's the first thing. Second thing is just go through my jokes, because that's what I opened the list of my jokes today, and there is, for this final show that I've done some months ago, there were maybe 20 jokes. And already I'm looking at maybe 5 jokes on that list, and I'm like, what the fuck was this about? Like, what is this joke? Was this a thing thank God I have a recording of that show as well, so I can rewatch it. And I think I'll do that. And then for Fringe, what I've done is I arrived there on Saturday. For Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I bought tickets to go and see some like famous A-list comedians, because I think it's also like, you see someone live, you see how they do it, and it kind of inspires you and, gives you a template on how things should be done. So I'm really hoping that's going to jumpstart my skill as well. Like, I'm going to see people do it properly, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's how you do it. Like, it's going to, like refresh my memory and maybe reinstate my skill.
Microphone to mouth. Got it. Microphone near the mouth. Yes, that's how you do it.
Microphone to mouth sounds like another one of your weird sex things, like fingering the A but not the C and whatever you were talking about.
Yeah. All right, cool. So basically, you're going to start off with being the lost soul in the grips of madness is what you're going to start with in your bedroom. Just ranting to yourself. That's your plan, is to rant to yourself until you feel the rhythm or the groove.
Well, yeah, my plan is, I think maybe first I'll watch the recordings of those jokes that I have, and then I'll try to practice doing them, in that same way. Maybe I haven't forgotten them, because some of those jokes I've been doing for 7 years, and I've done them 1,000 times at least, and I don't think there is a way for me to forget how to tell that joke. It's maybe I lost the pacing or something, the performance part. Of course, I know the joke, I know the text of it, I know the script of it, but maybe I've lost the performance of it. So that's why. But again, it's not something you can really practice in an empty room, because no matter how I do it here, it's going to be good enough for me. But would it be good enough for a room full of audience that paid money to see it? Well, we shall see.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe another way you can also practice is by, when you're performing, you should have images, like a, what's it called, like a carousel, like a slideshow, right? You get a slideshow of all these people's faces, right? Like a close-up of the faces, or audiences, but a mix. So some of them smiling, some of them frowning, some of them looking disgusted, and then, they just randomly pop up. And so basically it's about training yourself to not basically fail when you see that disappointed, disgusted look on someone's face, especially if it's like, an attractive woman's face or like a big menacing guy's face. And when they look at you, to not lose the middle of your joke, to not be put off. Maybe that's another training skill you could use, like sparring in a way.
I'm already using that one, because now I live very close to my family, and I see disappointed faces constantly, and
Right.
and
Good.
also my friends are super
Just throwing a joke now.
yeah, but
Throwing
also
a joke every so often.
since I don't have a chance to perform anymore, I've been testing a lot of kind of small stupid punchlines and jokes and setups and stuff on my friends, on my like personal friends that are not comedians and don't get that a comedian is always in this banter mode and stuff. And sometimes they're like, dude, okay, the show is over.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, yeah, you're done. Like you've done your 10 jokes a night. Can we now just like chill and not do stupid little puns and punchlines and setups and whatever? But I still do them because that's who I am. But
Fuck them.
Fuck them. In the lack of actual stages to perform, I'm now turning my personal life into one big stage. So,
well, that was the other thing I was going to say. Like, for example, sometimes in your workplace, like the lunchroom or the staff room or whatever, or places where maybe you can get away a little bit, but with your colleagues you can have a bit of that banter, you can practice a little bit of that back and forth. It's not the same as a stage, but a little bit of like just getting like a practice saying one of your shorter bits or something.
Yeah, except I work remotely and we are all full remote and there are no colleagues in my home and we have no like water cooler moments and kind of banter and jokes and what have you been up to yesterday, blah blah blah. So I can only force people in like Slack or some other like formal kind of work channel to read my jokes or something, so it's not really the same effect. But yeah.
Actually, I had a funny experience the other day where there's a new guy who started at the school where I work at. He's the new drama teacher. And I hadn't told him that I do stand-up, but he found out later on, right? About after a week and a half or so, he found out that I did some stand-up. He's like, oh, you do stand-up? I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, oh, that's really cool, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, oh, so, and he made some sort of remark like, oh, so you're not just a funny person. Like you actually do this as a thing. So obviously like I'd been cracking jokes and he just probably thought, man, this guy's like constantly just cracking jokes or like being a smart ass or whatever. And I'm thinking, am I? Yeah, I think it is. I think it is a big part of my personality. I'm constantly finding the little funny side, the thing. I don't take anything too seriously, but at moments I do, but it's like, he goes, you're constantly like making little quips and stuff. And I'm like, I'm always practicing.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the way I think I figure it. Yeah, I'm always practicing.
We talked about it also on one of the episodes when, like, being a comedian or something like this, when, you're a comedian on stage, but you're also a comedian off stage and, in your private life. And I can tone it down. I don't think I can turn it off. I mean, I can turn it off if there is like a serious conversation about some funeral. Kind of, whatever. Even at a funeral, I think I would crack a joke because nobody wants to, be just sad and depressed and stuff, especially
we're just breaking the ice.
Yeah,
we're just breaking the ice.
Of course.
We're seeing the elephant in the room, and we just kind of, we're in a way we're helping, right?
No, of course we are making horrible situations tolerable by sprinkling some humor and laughter on it. But I mean,
exactly.
I genuinely...
And if you can't find using Auntie Maria as a ventriloquist doll, I mean, she's not going to put up a fight anymore. She's obviously dead. If you can't see the funny in that, and you can't see and appreciate what we're trying to do, then fuck you. Don't come to the funeral then.
Of course.
What the hell were you thinking?
I mean, how is putting a Bluetooth speaker in a coffin and then playing "Please Let Me Out, Please Let Me Out" not funny? I mean, like, how would people not laugh at that? That is helping.
And that is helping people with their grief. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to be less dead if we just have a joke about it, have a laugh about it. But but I mean, in general, I mostly just tone it down from, okay, this is a written bit to just kind of small jokes, puns, banter with friends or colleagues or whatever. And it does help maintain, like, that comedic muscle and slowly kind of, flex it from time to time, not to get completely rusty. And what is the condition when you're atrophy? When your muscles
atrophy.
So I mean, I do try to do that, and it's not even I don't try to do that, it's just me. I am a comedian. I just constantly like joke and annoy people with that. But it's also a little bit different when you do it in private, like personal capacity, and when you have to get on stage. People have paid for like good Friday evening entertainment, and you have to deliver on that. So the pressure is still there, but
absolutely.
I do believe that I mean, I will definitely try to get myself back in shape for those shows, and like do some of those things that we've discussed, like watch my old stuff, go through my jokes, practice it on my own, maybe do some online mics, etc. But yeah, I do believe that it's one of those skills that you can forget, and if you don't do it regularly, you'll get rustier and rustier over time, and at some point you just won't be good. Maybe you'll still be funny, but you won't be a good performer, good like stand-up act. What do you think?
I agree, and I think that it also depends on what level you have attained and what things. Like if you were someone who did stand-up comedy for a year, then you don't do it for 20 years, and you come back. Of course, it's kind of like relearning. You have to relearn everything from scratch. But if on the other hand you were a touring comedian, and then you took a break for 5 years, even maybe it might take you a show to kind of get back into the groove. I think within the first show, or at the latest, the second show, it might take you to finally find that groove. On the other hand, if you're taking a longer break, it might take you a couple of shows. But it's something, so it's like riding a bike, sure, but I would say it's closer to like playing the saxophone. It also depends on to what level did you achieve in the first place, because it's something that you have to build up on. So it's not like riding a bike. Once you've learned how to ride the bike, the basics, that's it. You're done. I mean, unless you're doing backflips and, you're a trick rider or something. No. So this, I would say, I would go back to the analogy. It's more like, like playing the saxophone. It depends on what skill you had, how long did you play it for, and then how long is your break. It depends on how long it's going to take you. I think for you, I think it's going to take maybe part of a show. I think within the first 10 minutes of doing a set, how long is your first set, the first show you're going to do?
I don't know, an hour, because the first show I'm doing is like a solo show, yeah.
Yeah, well then I think within the first 10 minutes, I think during the banter stage, during the crowd interaction, I think you got to find your groove. You got to find the crowd's groove, which is the most important thing. It might take, rather than taking you like 5 minutes, it might take you 10, something like that, to find their groove. But once you found it, I think you'll be fine. You'll get into it. You'll start telling jokes. I think if worse comes to work and you realize you're losing it again, I think you can always go back. And I think you are the kind of person, you go back to the crowd interaction, you find your footing again, and then you'll get right in. So yeah, I think you're going to be fine.
I also think I'm going to be fine. Otherwise, I wouldn't be booking shows for myself if I think I'm absolutely, utterly shit now and no one should come to see that or pay for it. It's just, that kind of thing of when you haven't done something, even as you mentioned, I don't know, fingering a C. If you don't do it for a while, we forget how to do it. Sex, you don't forget how to do it. You mentioned it. You don't forget how to do it, but you lose a bit of that confidence and like libido, because you're like, am I gonna be? How I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like you kind of you start questioning yourself and you get in your head, and I'm afraid of that more than.
And you might accidentally elbow your partner once, or knee them, or something like that, or step on something you shouldn't have, but. I think after the first, once you find each other's groove, and that's it, you're finding each other's groove, once you're in it, you're fine.
So after I elbow or punch a couple of audience members, I think I'll be fine in any case. Well,
worst case scenario. I'm just saying, worst case scenario. You may not even elbow anyone.
That's not the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is like if I shit myself on stage or something like this. Elbowing an audience member, that's fine. That's tolerable. Yeah. I'll just give them a refund and send them on their way. But so I mean, we're going to see in about a month how it all went. And I'm pretty sure at some point after I'm back from Fringe, we're going to have an episode where like I will share the experiences and talk more about all of that. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, subscribe and follow all of our social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we have obviously all the podcast platforms as well. Apple Music, Google Podcasts. What are some others? All the others as well.
iTunes, Spotify. Oh, you can get Spotify now. I can't get Spotify, apparently, unless I use a VPN.
Loser. So basically find us on wherever you usually find us and subscribe to us there. Rate us. That really helps us go up in the charts.
Absolutely. All right. Excellent. So thank you very much for joining us. I've been David Munoz.
And I'm Igor Monday.
Ciao.
Goodbye.